Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the Ten Shadows podcast. I'm your host, the Osama. I have many names. I'm just alone today, so I guess I'll hop straight into the video. I don't need to introduce anyone else. Maybe some people may join later on, but at the moment, that is how it's going to be. I shall get chat up to make sure that I can see chats. Actually, I should post my stream to everybody. Because only I am talking to myself now, which is good. I can pay attention to the chat and my actual scale. I shall announce my. Alright, live streaming now. That's it. I've announced it. Alright, now we can get into the video. Alright, so today we're here to discuss the Bambi rankings, how the Bambies ought to be ranked. Now, this can be done in a number of ways. Some people have Bambietta as the top due to her leader statements. Some people have Lototo as the top due to her own statements about herself, etc. Now, we also have some statements from Kubo, how to rank them. Now, I'm going to explain why this is poor, because the issue is it's only in relation to specific stats. Oh, in order of strength within Bam. So the question was, is the order of strength within the Bambies Lototo above Giselle, above Meninius, above Bambi, above Candace? And then Cuba then says that's probably the order battling Blurt. The issue is that's only including Blurt. That's not including other stats. We don't actually know what is included aside from Blurt. Next one statement, the next Cubo statement is in hand to hand is Lototo above Meninius, above Candace, above Gigi, above Bambi, showing that changes can happen based off what you're measuring by. And this is the actual question. I ripped this from Mr. Terman's stream, but he's more well known than him, so you probably know his channel than I. I can link it down below at some point. But is the order of strength Bambi's order of strength for the Bambies, Lototo above Giselle, above Meninius, above Bambi, above Candace, and then give it the answers. If you battle with blood equipped ants, it will be equipped in that order. I don't know what necessarily that translates to, but this translation has blood, so we'll just say blood. Instigaro, that must mean hand-to-hand combat. Yes. So that's that. So the issue is that doesn't actually be indicative of any rankings aside from specific stats. This is his typical take when he trolls the fandom, but also giving a little bit of leeway with his arguments. Now I shall begin from the top, because I got a whole lot of things to go through. Now, my final ranking, what I'm going to get to is Candace above Lototo, above Live Bambietta, above Meninius, above Zombie Bambietta, above Giselle. Now, this is just supplementary, of course, this part. Candace destroyed the Oaken, which was scale above Ichigo's durability, as Ichigo is required to wear it to get through the 72 layer barrier. Now, some people argue that the Oaken is weakened due to Ichigo traveling through the barrier. So because it's already been used, it may be weakened. The issue is we don't know if that's the case, and also it's extraordinary evidence because narratively, both in the manga and in the anime, the Yokin's treated as if this magnificence protection, magnificence resistance, the best thing a Soul Reaper can have. So like it's arguably above their own durability and resistance, which means like it's extraordinary if that is the case, is the best way of phrasing it. I forgot to post the scans of that. I will post that later when I actually do the actual video, like actually construct the video with the whole timeline and post it, and also shorts. Now, Candace's AP is directly able to clash with Ichigo's AP without her hands bleeding. This is full standing Candace. Full standing, not full standing. True Shika Ichigo directly backs away from Candace when she produces her wind electric blast, like he directly moves away from her. Now, the Galvano Javelin, which is here, did actually beat Ichigo's Getsuga because when it gets thrown, well, it hit the Getsuga Tensho, the Galvano Javelin, and it actually keeps going, if you can see by the scan. So his Candace throwing it, while standing Candace. His Ichigo performed the Getsuga Tensho. He performs the Getsuga Tensho and assists there. Both of those forces collide. You can see that this is where the Getsuga Tensho is, and this is where Candace's Galvano Javelin, it actually moves past. And you can see this again, it actually moves past. So it gets directed away from Ichigo, but it still actually wins out. I mean, I would argue that it's over it, but it's fine if you want to argue that it's like relative. So in the next part. So Latoto, while admitting inferiority to Ichigo, she also admits the Bambi's inferiority to Candace. This is because even her full standing couldn't kill him. He exceeds their death, and this means that Latoto, Minions, and Giselle can't do a better job than Candace did as a group. This would also put Candace's VS above the Skylove Ray forms as well. This also shows that Latoto has no knowledge on both Candace's Skylove Ray and electrocution. This also means that Candace is either stronger than or relative to Fullbring Ichigo as well. As the dots would include Ichigo's fight with Quipke, as Quincy's know about it happening. Now, you can argue that's assumption of how they would know this, but the issue is it's either Quincy survived that battle with him because Cookie didn't have time to execute them for running away, or he never would have done so anyway to begin with. Either way, they would have survived. Jurum, who is their Grandmaster, can tell them, or Ewok can tell them. There are many ways for us to know this. Now, aside from the electrocution being below Getsuga Jujisho and being above Getsuga Tensho, that electrocution got stomped hard. Candace does survive being blown up by Ichigo's Getsuga Jujisho and was burned for 11 seconds, and all she lost was her arm and no visible damage on her rest of her body. She also attempted to rejoin the fight afterwards and after getting her arm restored. There's my friend Carl. After the electrocution, Latoto asks the potential of Candace winning against. Latoto sees the potential of Candace winning against Ichigo. As she states, "Calm down, you bitch. Impatience isn't gonna win you this fight. If she's more patient," which is shown by her statements, basically more, which is showing more statements of Candace performing better than the counterparts in her group. As you can see, she stated, even her full standish couldn't kill him. He exceeds our Darton. So what should we do? She says, "Screw this, we'll do it anyway." So they knowingly know that they're fighting a fight that they can't win right now when they go into Skylove Ray. Now, on to the next part. As for the rest of the fan readers, Candace has performed really well. She got a Getsuga Tensho out of Ichigo, and also she's gotten a Getsuga Jujisho out of Ichigo. And on top of that, Latoto has also stated that if she's more patient, she could actually win her fights. She has the potential to win that fight. So we got a really high bar for Candace. Now we're going on to Menenius. For the rest of the Femras, Menenius clashes with Ichigo. Ichigo fights her normally with his basic attacks and dodges one of her name attacks later with plenty of time to spare. So she does have some feats of being able to fight him, but he easily deals with her. Not like easily, but he deals with her normally with her basic attack. So like he's not performing that high on such a high level. Now he easily dodges her attack at this point. At this point, Ichigo's long gone. Like he's already dodged here. And this is showing Giselle's still in there from being hit by it. So Ichigo's long gone. Now, obviously, Giselle got hit by this and it cleaned through her neck. It didn't cut all the way through, etc. But like, it's not that bad. I'm not showing this because I'm not sure what's allowed and not allowed on YouTube. Some things I go from using pictures and videos in this thing. So yes, as you can see. Now, for many, nothing really notable happened, even though this is the strongest form. There's no exemplary or extraordinary feats that she performs. And Giselle, we'll get onto Giselle later, but now, onto Latoto. Tsushika Ichigo dodges Sky Love Ray Latoto's name techniques, and even catches her prep technique, which is this technique right here. You can see her shooting her name technique, Spork, and it flies. Ichigo and Menenius both dodge her own technique. Whether they pushed away from each other, I don't know necessarily. Anyway, that's the attack hitting the building. That's her doing the prep technique, which is up there. And you can see Ichigo catching the technique here, and then obviously... Now, what gets Latoto above the rest of her people is that she pushes Ichigo back with her chain attack, and it's called Spiff. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, it's a chain-like attack, which actually pushes Ichigo from here all the way to the ground, where he finally stops himself. And this is where Giselle... So, actually, before I talk about Giselle... So, Latoto performed actually really well, better than the rest of her counterparts, excluding Candace. Now, keep in mind she's in Sky Love Ray at this form, so... Latoto has performed not as good as Candace, but she does have feats on him. Candace has better feats, which is why I rate Candace above Latoto. Now, Latoto did push Ichigo back, but no one else has performed those feats. This is excluding Candace because Candace has also done that, but in ball standing. Which is right here. Ichigo dodges. Like, Ichigo pushes away from her before she even uses the technique. It's like, so Ichigo tries to avoid damage from her specifically, instead of just tackling her head on with the thing like Menenius did. Now back to where we were. This is where we were. So those two have performed similar level feats, really decent feats. So that's why I go Candace. Yeah, that's why I go Candace above Latoto, and then Latoto above Giselle and all that. But now we're about to talk about Giselle. For Giselle, Ichigo easily dodges her attacks, destroying her summons. Judging by how they're probably attachable and detachable, because they're the little things that like bind Ichigo. So it might be it probably is an ability specifically to do that when they get destroyed. So they might be made weak on purpose or something like that. Anyway, the issue is that's all she does. Because at that point of Ichigo easily dodging her attacks, like this is how easy it is. He just moves side to side to side to side. Like no effort is taken to dodge these attacks. Like these attacks are very weak. Now, the issue for her is that Latoto takes over, so that's the only feats that she has. So Giselle actually scales, in my perspective, scales worse than Menenius. So it actually goes Candace above Latoto, above Menenius, above Giselle. Now, it could be more subjective. You could argue here in some of the areas, like you could probably swap Menenius with Giselle, you maybe swap Candace with Latoto, but this is my perspective of it. But I think more evidence leans towards Candace and then Latoto and then Menenius than Giselle. Now, from then on, they're portrayed as a ball standing Basby level opponent, while all the Quincy's who are alive at this point, because they're all alive, they will take a hit from Basby. Now, more on Giselle later specifically for this, because Giselle is a zombie and can survive all these techniques, so she doesn't necessarily need to even scale to this area to survive anything. So that is that. Same with Renji, same with Byakuya. We'll talk more about on this with Giselle because things get a lot weirder for Giselle later, which is why I think she is not really meant to be with this group anymore. Afterwards, Volstein and Candace, while weakened, fights while she's heavily fatigued, fights a base Shikai Byakuya. Volstein and Candace, while weakened about to run out of juice, is still able to push a Byakuya back. And now, keep in mind this is base, but the issue is between base and Shikai, there's no additional power. So when Candace performs Galvan and Javelin against Shikai, Byakuya will see her winds disappear, and as well as Candace saying Tisk, I ran out of juice, so she runs out of juice. So she's heavily weakened here, can't use a technique. Now, I don't necessarily need to provide a scan for this because should be common knowledge. Amongst Quincy's, a blood is a Bonkai difference, so base Candace with blood should be above that. As Volstein and Candace can barely use a technique and is heavily fatigued, so she should be weaker than her base self with blood. So she does scale to Byakuya in base. Now, yes. Now I basically just say the same thing before. Shikai doesn't necessarily make you stronger, it just gives you more abilities to use. So like it makes you stronger in the sense that you have more access to more abilities than what would normally be provided. Now, this brings us to the Latoto statement. It is only referring to a weakened Candace. Keep that in mind. Byakuya doesn't know that Byakuya trained or was stronger, so she still thinks Byakuya is an Asnod victim, which you can tell by his statements. By considering abilities, I think it makes sense that we're the ones that survive. Latoto then says, I guess you're right. By the way, is that really the same guy that got his butt kicked by Asnod? If so, it's pretty damn tough. Yeah, keep in mind she doesn't know that this is a completely different Byakuya that's trained in the royal powers and has come down, so he's vastly stronger than what he was. His Shikai now equals his Bonkai, etc. And like Asnod thinks that it's his Bonkai. Damn bastard, where the hell did Pepe go? The playing field will be more even with his powers. But the man is gross, I think we can manage without him. Puko Pick, he's better than nothing. So what's happening is Latoto made a faulty conclusion based on the evidence provided. This is based off she thinks Byakuya is an Asnot victim. She thinks Asnot is technically weak, but she doesn't realize Byakuya actually trained significantly, went up to Root Pass and came back. So the Byakuya she's looking at, she can't tell the difference between the two. She hasn't noticed the difference between the two, and that's the reason why she's went to a faulty conclusion. And also, Candace is weakened here, so that's the reason why this statement can't actually be used against her. Is because this is a faulty conclusion. Now you can also tell this is based off how poorly Pepe performed as well, because because of how wide that gap is, it opened up a whole range of possibilities of what the Toto could be thinking about, not necessarily that they're relative to her, because of Asnot. And we can tell this is because Pepe performed really poorly, because Pepe's abilities only work if his opponent isn't ruthless and isn't willing to kill their allies. Now, I'm going to be talking about Giselle, because Giselle and Bambier at this point are intertwined because of what happens. Because Giselle kills Bambietta, takes Bambietta as a summon, and relies on her now. Which is why I put Zombie Bambietta above Giselle regardless. Because she relies on her as a summon, as well as like Toshiro. But the issue with Toshiro is that he gets absolutely stomped by Basby earlier. Which is the reason why Giselle's scaling gets really wonky, because herself is meant to be now above it, but now she's relying on things to get her through areas, make her abilities stronger, and all these people are. She's relying on people that should be well below her against other people who are well below her, when easily she should be able to stomp them. Now, this is because Giselle, with Bambietta, should be able to destroy Yamachika and Igaku, but she struggles against them. She relies on Bambietta against Charlotte Chilthorn, who absolutely stomps her. Charlotte Chilthorn, Yamachika, and Igaku. Now, while they're not necessarily weak, it's just there's no evidence to even necessarily even put them above captain level of some of these opponents, because as what we know about Charlotte, she fought Yamachika in FKT. So this should put her well below what is happening here, because we're well above like captain level at this point. Like this is Basby at this point, Volsane Basby, who's like a penitential league guard by Jubrun's statements. So this Giselle's scaling just went off the rails. Don't know what the hell's happening here. Giselle at this point should scale well below the rest of her counterparts. Which is why I put Kenneth above Lototo, above Menenius, above Zombie Bambietta, above Giselle. Which is why this scale makes sense. Now, Alive Bambietta does fight a stronger opponent than many does in first evasion. You can argue there's like a massive time difference, etc., but this is still some degree of evidence and, valid to be used. Ruka should be well below first invasion Byakuya at this point. There's nothing to suggest that she's a captain level opponent at this point. Alive Bambietta bodies Komamura. Or they can fight evenly after the morale amp, that sort of thing, but Alive Bambietta at least has evidence to be like captain level, which is why I put Candace above Lototo, above Alive Bambietta, above Menenius, above Zombie Bambietta, above Giselle. Now, we've already dealt with the Bambi rankings. Now, I shall go get the statement of Basby above Basby elite guard candidate statement. Um, I'm just posting that right now. Jugan then goes, I see those wounds. They are not from the enemy, but from His Majesty, so you weren't not chosen. Not just me. You guys were the only ones chosen. The rest of us went across the board. We were wiped out. Those who managed to hide and avoid the light lost their Volstone dish. Those who couldn't lost their lives altogether. So like this basically proves Basby is an elite guard candidate. From that, anyone that's able to fight him or deal with him, because Basby thought the Bambies were the Bambies were meant to be oh we got it. Basby thought that they were really shouldn't to use his full standing to make sure he could penetrate them, especially with a burner finger one. So like he thinks they're a ball standing level opponent even off guard. So which is why I put them in the category. So that makes it the issue with Giselle, because Giselle immediately after that, all her feats immediately suggest otherwise. Like well below Toshiro, who's like not even able to fight Basby, which honestly surprises me. If you want to have Giselle like really high in the Bambies, that just doesn't make sense. Giselle is like the lowest, like even lower than her own zombies, because she relies on them on a fight. Now, if you like the video, like the video. If you don't like the video, don't like the video. Um, I'll see you in the next live stream. Um, um, should be next week, streaming at the same time. Maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier than usual, but around about the same time. All right, I'll see you in the next live stream.